It's going to be music forever, Jules.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Joel Fleischman, Happy Hour Podcast, episode 169.
Hey, cheers.
Welcome, Mike Koehler, Coach Koehler, to the podcast. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm the only one having a beer. I'm having the Foxtown Brewery.
Ooh, yes.
Which was brought to us by...
Midwest Tops.
Midwest Tops, yes.
Yes. Sorry.
No, not Al. Oh, boy.
Oh, it's not coming. I'm so sorry. We'll get it.
I'm so sorry. He was a great podcast.
Yes, backwad.
This is so bad.
Backwad. It'll come to us. Anyway, Coach Koehler is here, and we're really excited to dive into this. Joel.
I got beer everywhere over me. Literally spilled half the beer on top of me.
Joel, you have a personal connection to Coach and invited him on. How are you guys connected? How'd you meet?
Yeah, how I knew Mike. First of all, he's a legend, which we'll get into in high school. Mm-hmm. Graduated in 93.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm class of 92.
Okay.
So I consider myself a basketball legend. I was never even first team all conference, but I felt like I was one of the better players in the state at the time. Mm-hmm. Very arrogant, stupid young kid that didn't get recruited. It was Johnny Nobody. And there was this kid close to us, 35 miles away, in little Elkhart Lake, putting up a gazillion points a game, and we ran a fast break offense. So I'm putting up quite a few points. This kid's like doubling my point total every night. Ends up on the cover of the Milwaukee Journal, letters from Duke. Like, this guy's nobody. He's a Johnny I never met him, never seen him play. And then I did finally see him play. I believe that would have been maybe Mike's junior year or senior year. Okay. Campbell Sport, our local rival. We had a night off in Kewaskum. We drove up to Elkhart Lake. He played at Elkhart Lake. Campbell Sport was ranked in state. Roger Tershady is the Campbell Sport coach in the Hall of Fame. I'm like, I hate Campbell Sport, but I also uniquely just hate Koehler. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Like, I want to see what the hell this Koehler kid's about.
How did I play that game? Because I don't remember.
It was, if I remember, and I'm kind of like Mike. Now that I've met Mike, kind of a goofy, weird savant that you remember this dumb stuff, which makes you sound like a really dumb jock at a bar. You just, I never thought I'd remember it when I played, but
it comes
here you are, Glory Day guy, whatever, Al Bundy thing, whatever. So I believe the score was 19-17 at halftime, and Mike had 19 points. So they would guard him from 20 feet, and then they guard him from 22, and then they guard him from 24, and the ball kept going in. I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty good. It's pretty good. And then Campbell Sport came out just hell bent on stopping him, and it was a fun game to watch. I don't remember who won. I don't know. But anyways, probably just a normal Tuesday night for Mike. For me, it was a big deal at that time.
Yeah, very cool. So you go back for sure. And then, of course, your son plays for his team, which we'll get into that.
Yes, current relationship. I really only known Mike for several months. He built the house through Drexel years ago, and lives in Elkhart Lake. Yeah. And my son was coming home he played on the national circuit last year for AAU. That doesn't mean he's high level at all, but he played for a national team. Joe Chapman's team, love Joe. Oh, yeah. And we should have Joe on, by the way. He'd be great. And so played for that team, and, he was in the car coming home after a long season. He had tendonitis in his knee, and we ended up pulling him out of Chicago game. And he just had overworked and whatever. He was hurt. Yeah. And pulled him out, and on the way home, on the back seat, he goes, I'm going to play for Mammoth next year. And I'm like, what's Mammoth? What's going on? Wow. I have no clue. And he never mentioned anything that he was even anywhere. And he just started reading off their website, which was like, hey, we don't believe in national, we don't, we love all AAU, we understand basketball. We think of it in a different way, not that we don't like national teams, but we play regionally. You don't have to go out of state to play great teams. There's plenty of good competition in Wisconsin. And he goes, this is my guy, right? And then we went up for tryouts, and also a great story. Normally tryouts it's a lot of AAU's about money, so normally you got to pay a fee just to try out, and it's kind of staged where it's like a lot of coaches and a lot of drama. And I was like, this seems a little hokey, right? And it's just Mike opens the gym with a key. His name's on the wall, we walked into Hoosiers.
Yes.
Like, these D5 schools are Hoosiers, right? So it's like Hickory, right? It's like, okay, we're like in frickin' Hoosierville. Mike works him out. We're walking out. He's like, well, he can play for me. He's a good guy. I'm like, so we're walking out. I'm like, normally there's an offer comes a week later, all this crap. Mike just says, hey, we're good. I'm like, Marcus, what do you think? And then Mike's like, hey, put your shoes back on. I want to show you a couple things. Or Mike showed him a couple footwork moves, and he goes, I'm like, no coach has ever done that to you, bud. Like, literally pulled you aside and gave you some tips and tricks right off the bat. He's like, I'm going to do it. So that's kind of how I started respecting Mike right away, and him and I have now become text buddies and go back and forth and talk hoops and all sorts of stupid stuff. So you got to get Mike on.
Love it.
I do remember that email from Marcus, and I was very impressed because 9 times out of 10 that would come from a parent. And I really thought, wow, this kid is kind of taking ownership. And I really do remember that and speaks highly of him and no doubt how he's parented. So that email did stick out to me.
That's great. And he reached out to our varsity coach, and they kind of had chatted about Marcus, which also stuck out to me, which was unique to AAU.
Partnership.
Doesn't quite happen as much as you think it would.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get into why Mammoth was created, but let's go back a little bit in your background. So, we're born and raised in Elkhart Lake, correct?
Yeah, born and raised. I have twin boys who are seniors now, and I think they are the 5th generation of my family to be born and raised in Elkhart Lake. I kind of go back, my family does, to the horse and buggy days in Elkhart Lake. My mom was a nurse her whole career, and my dad was a painter.
What did the original Koehlers come for in Elkhart? Was it the resort culture, or was it farming?
No, I don't think it was that. It was probably farming. I know that way back when someone was a blacksmith, and then someone delivered milk by horse. So you might not have been. You probably would know if you would have been farmers. So you probably were. You were like a downtown merchant of some we were the downtown folks in Elkhart.
Still kind of right? So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then went to grade school, middle school, high school in Elkhart Lake, and graduated in 1993. And back in the 90s, high school basketball was a really big thing. It still is a big thing, but things are a little bit different nowadays.
So how many points did you score in high school, just to be clear?
2,685, which
is to this day still top 10.
Well, they do play a lot more games nowadays.
Yes, I read that.
So I actually only played 89 high school games.
Wow.
And
so what was your average?
It was 30.
Right. So again, if you think about that, if you're a mathematician or think about it, and for any of you that play sports, right, that means his freshman year he had 30, and the one night that he was held to 10. He would have at some point had a 50-point game.
So it's funny you mention that, because
I think a tremendous amount of kids, almost every team, every year, some kid on the team will have 30. And I've been to a tremendous amount of high school basketball games. I really love hoops, obviously. We've talked about it tremendously.
Yes, we have.
Almost diabolically, that kid the next game's going to have 8. And the game of that's going to have 4. Because that coach goes, well, he's not scoring the next game. And that kid just gets overwhelmed. He thinks in his mind, like, he goes home that night, he's like, I'm a dude. I made it. Like, they think they made it. What they don't know is, like, your world just got unbelievably harder. So there's very few Mike Koehlers that every night can show up and throw down 30. That's almost impossible.
You're right in the sense that it does become difficult sometimes to carry that mental load.
How did you mentally?
Yes.
How did you believe you were that good? I mean,
quite
life is so much about confidence.
Quite honestly, at those early stages, again, there was very little basketball social media.
I was just gonna say that
there was no highlight clips. To
be clear, there was a book printed that you could get at the grocery store. And my name was mentioned in there my senior year, and it was like a big deal. Like I was supposed to be player of the year. But that was, besides that, the Milwaukee Journal, which would rank you, that was about all that existed. Yeah. Really, truly.
And that the 90s were kind of the...
and you had to go to state. You had to make it a state, because state got you on TV.
Yes.
Then you were somebody.
The 90s were kind of the apex of local newspapers covering high school sports, which unfortunately really doesn't happen anymore.
Which was cool, so you could work your way up to like the Sheboygan Press.
Press.
Fond du Lac Reporter.
Plymouth Review. At those early years, freshman, sophomore, I was just a kid trying to help my team win and playing hard. my freshman year, my older brother was a senior on the team, and
but that probably helped a lot to give you confidence.
Oh, absolutely.
If I could play with my brother and his buddies, I could play with them.
He was essentially him and the other group of seniors were kind of the head coach that year.
And you didn't have to build a path for yourself so much because they're like, this is the way we do it.
Yeah.
That helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, then come my junior, senior year, Mark Miller, who runs the Wisconsin Basketball Yearbook, and some of the other journalists were saying, he's pretty close to the all-time state record. And I had no idea. Like, literally no idea. I was just a kid playing basketball, trying to sneak into the gym, playing in my driveway.
So were you pretty obsessed? I mean, 2,600 points again. You're being humble here, but like, you must have played a lot.
I did play a lot, but I never thought of it that way.
You just had an obsession, like, were you kind of obsessed over it?
There weren't trainers back then.
Right.
You just kind of were out and about in the neighborhood, playing in the park or
you
in
must
the
have almost had a ball in your hand.
Rumor has it I would drive around town on my bike, dribbling a basketball.
I was told at a camp that you should sleep with the ball, so I slept with my ball.
All the tips and tricks.
And the 90s were kind of the apex of basketball camps, right?
Yep.
So I would go to these basketball camps and would just be like a sponge. Like literally would have a notebook and couldn't wait to get back to my driveway to try out some of these drills.
Same. I also said that motivation would last like 2 to 3 weeks, right? Because it would be the camp, you had a huge thing. But then for another 3 weeks, you were still like super motivated because Ken Anderson from Eau Claire, shout out to him a million years ago, he would just stay in your head, right? In fact, I think at one of the camps I went to, they said, you should practice in the rain because nobody practices in the rain. That's the only way to get better.
It's funny you mentioned
everyone
that.
on a nice day.
Yes.
And my parents have said, they didn't understand it. Maybe I still don't understand it. I didn't have any older brothers or anything, and two sisters that were very close, so I was kind of like an only child in some ways. And I would cut my fingers off my gloves, and they said when it was pouring rain, all of a sudden they knew where I would be, and I'd be like, well, no, I was like, that's the
do
only
what
way
other people
better.
won't do.
It's funny you mention that because in the spring when things are muddy, the ball goes on the grass.
Yeah, game over.
So I would always have dirty hands.
Yes.
And I have crystal clear recollections of probably being in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, watching the high school play. You come home at night, you turn on the floodlight, you chip ice off the driveway.
Hoosiers,
Your hands would be frozen for the first 5 minutes, but once they got thawed out, you would just replicate
I did that too.
what you saw.
Normal Tuesday night, right?
And I think some of that is lost in their current generation. Everyone seems to want an air-conditioned gym with a fully pumped-up ball, with
all the convenience,
a floor that is squeaky clean.
A little shout out to my son Marcus, and I do not give him any compliments, but he has been a driveway gym rat since he was probably 3, and probably like you and I, how we played. It's relaxing for him. I can tell. He just wants to shoot. He just enjoys shooting. The ball rolls down the hill. He goes, gets it. He gets himself all lathered up in sweat.
Yeah.
And he was out there last night. Not last night because he had practice last night, but Tuesday night. And I still rebound for him, and I still tear up because I know there's not many times left to rebound for I've rebounded for all my kids, and man, that's a joy. I have such a joy that he enjoys it. And he'll just after supper, he's just out there.
Yep.
One of my sons, I have twin boys, one played basketball, and
we'll give him a shout out. Dakota
and Canyon.
And Canyon, that's what I thought
of.
Names,
and Dakota basketball career
ended. He played in South Dakota, so also Dakota Canyon. Yeah.
Oh.
His basketball career ended, a couple months ago, and I just kiddingly asked him the other night, "You want to go up to the gym?" And I knew the answer was going to be no, but. That hits you pretty hard because we spent a lot of time together in the gym, and you have different bonds with your kids in different ways.
And they have different passions. My oldest son Jackson played, but never a practicer. Again, he would never be like, let's shoot around. He would actually always ask me, Dad, can I be done? Yeah. And it actually broke my heart a little bit because I'm like, Bud, I'm not doing this. It reminded me that he's doing it for me, not for him. Yeah. And I'm like, you can be done whenever you want. Yeah. If you don't want to do this sport, you don't have to. And then my daughter was much more blunt. She's like, Dad, I'm good. Like, no, I don't need this, which was great. Shout out to both of them. Yes. But my other, Marcus is always, in fact, that just happened on Tuesday night. I was going in and he goes, Dad, post moves. We got to work on some post moves. And he always brings me back in. And he's always done that since he was 3. And and that's, again, more of a hobby and we always say passion and talent.
Yeah.
Passion needs to meet your talent. Marcus doesn't have talent to play at Duke no matter how much he practices, but he has a passion for it. So you just try to match them up.
And, that as a coach, that is something you sometimes can't teach. And having that fire in the belly and that competitive edge is something that, will serve kids well in life. Just getting back to high school then, so then you figure out, you're kind of good, and then you go to Sheboygan, and then you go to Milwaukee, and you're still kind of good. And I was just always very intrigued by, how good am I? What is my next level? And again, not to sound like a broken record, but back then you really didn't know.
And so you were chasing competition,
chasing competition,
or chasing the court. I can play on this court. I can play on that court. I can play
and on some level.
When was the first time you were humbled? Where you're like, oh, I've hit my wall?
Well, I mean, there were plenty of times in high school you have
not moments.
That
what court did you walk on and you're like, okay, these guys are all 6'9", or because Mike's not the tallest guy in the world.
No, nor am I the most athletic.
Well, but you don't look like a guy. There's plenty of guys you see. You're like, you play basketball, and you're like, yeah, I'm a dude, right? Especially at AAU tournaments, you're like, his fingers are on the floor. Like you must have been a dude. You can just tell the way they walk. Sure. Mike doesn't have that basketball 2,600 point look, right? So when was do you remember the moment, the first court you walked on, you're like, this is a challenge. I'm having a hard time getting my shot off. I mean,
not specifically. I do recall my freshman year in college, you start off a basketball season with non-conference games.
And sidebar, he went to
University of South Dakota?
South Dakota, which was D1 at the time, or it still is?
That whole conference was D2 at the time.
D2 at the time, now D1.
It's now D1.
Okay. The other way, but it was very strong D2.
Oh, yeah, and people in the Dakotas, that's like cheering for the University of Wisconsin. People get pretty excited about that, and
it's more than just your girlfriend and your mom and dad. It's
and you figure out pretty quickly that things are a little bit more difficult here, but that is so much part of the growth process too. Is experiencing difficult things. So you're a high school basketball star wanting to go Division I, you then go Division II, and there's just an assumption that, you're going to dominate. It's Division II. Well, there's good basketball all over the place.
Yeah.
And I just talked about it. I'm a confirmation sponsor for a boy named Anthony tomorrow night. We just talked about it last night. If anybody's listening that's in sports, right? I don't know if an 8th grader will ever listen to this, but when you're in 8th grade, you're like, oh, dude, that guy went to lacrosse? What a bum. By the time you're a junior and senior high school, you're like, you're going to lacrosse? You're a dude. And sports has even changed in the 90s.
Sure.
There's in every single sport, there's an elite level players at if you just play in college, if you play JUCO basketball, you are a phenomenal player. Phenomenal.
And that's always been the case, and it's
always been
certainly the case.
But the awareness level maybe wasn't there for me until
and
recently.
The landscape of college basketball has materially changed in the last 5 years, and will probably continue to change. But no, you're absolutely right about that. You figure things out in college, and I vividly recall a couple times, literally crying myself to sleep at night. I'm not meeting expectations, whether those expectations were probably myself, really no pressure from my parents or anything like that. And that's tough to deal with at the time, but you grow through that. I played basketball when transferring wasn't an option. And I'm glad I stayed where I did, because those are some of my best friends still. In fact,
which now in this day and age, they don't really make that type of
right. And that's one thing
the connections aren't quite there.
Yeah, that's one thing I worry about with some of the transferring and portaling. It's like, which school do you identify with? Which professors do you actually have relationships with? Which group, when you're 30, are you going to recall as your teammates? So back then it was easy. In fact, we're all getting together in 3 weeks in Ohio, because one of my teammates as retiring as a colonel from the military, and that's good stuff.
That's great.
That's good stuff.
Those are good relationships to keep for sure. So you founded Mammoth. Is that 2021?
Yeah. So the short story there is
Mammoth is, just for all you listening.
Yes.
Mammoth is the AAU program, coaches the Elkhart Lake Resorters, which has the mascot of an elk. So that's a great mascot.
So I wear two hats depending upon the.
Well, he's actually, if you're listening in, he's got a Mammoth hoodie on with a resorter.
Yeah. Got to represent.
For sure.
So I've been the head coach at Elkhart Lake for 7 years, and then 5 years ago founded Mammoth. And the short story is my son Dakota was involved in some other club basketball program, and I'm like, as the website says, there just has to be a better way of doing this.
See a problem.
In terms of cost, travel, efficiencies, and I've kind of always.
And like 6 years ago, I started an AAU program. So again, Mike and I are kind of like running spiritually aligned, but not really for many years. It seems that way.
And I've always kind of prided myself on being a self-starter and starting new things professionally. I kind of started a website that is kind of like an industry trade publication. So
drop it.
FCPAprofessor.com. So my world is basketball and bribery. Just your typical.
I like the alliteration. Thank you.
Foreign bribery specifically, but I'm just like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And then my basketball coaching journey is, everyone asks you, as a former college player, well, when are you going to coach? When are you going to coach? I'm like, I never want to coach. Like, why would I want other people's performance to be reflective upon me? Well, here I am. But then, I have kids, and I started coaching flag football and started coaching 3rd and 4th grade basketball, and then we lived in Southern Illinois at the time, and I'd go to high school games. And I'd be like, this is kind of cool, right? And then the competitive juices start to flow, and then so anyway, I'm like, there's got to be a better way to offer a club basketball experience. And I really pride myself on providing opportunities for kids from smaller towns. We do have a few kids from Plymouth and Kewaskum, which I know are pretty big places,
which are still smaller towns.
But for those category of kids, just to have exposure to a different coach, exposure to different teammates.
And it is interesting. It's almost different sports. And and I think most sports are that way in Wisconsin. And if you don't understand that, what I'm trying to say is, if you're in a Division 5 or Division 4, and the kids may be excellent, but I like going to state basketball because D5 and D4, and then if you can stay through the night and see D1, it almost appears as a different sport. It's the same rules, same refs, if you will, same styles, but almost different sports. The level of talent at D1 is remarkable. And that is not discounting D4, D5 numbers. But it's getting those smaller school kids opportunities. It's just interesting. It's also interesting in a sad way. And I don't know, it's just God's path. It's the cards you're dealt, I like to say, right? It's just you got to play the cards you're dealt. You may be at Arrowhead or a huge school like Kimberly, and you would be a phenomenal D4, D5 player. We're talking all conference, potentially player of the year. Like, you would think you're a stud. You might never get off the bench for 4 years. Remarkable. It's hard to fathom. Just by
I always think there's good players at every level. What I think is the biggest difference.
Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to minimize.
No, what I think is the biggest difference is probably 4, 5, 6, 7 in your rotation at a bigger school compared to a smaller school. But it is kind of weird. Like you said, your high school sports experience is on some level going to be reflective of the school you go to, which
or just the timing of it all.
Yeah.
All of a sudden your conference has 3 high-level D1 kids, and these are for parents that are even excited about their kids if they're in 6th grade. You may run into a conference that year in your regional that just has 3 high-level D1 kids, and you're going to get smoked. And 5 years later, that team could have went to state, and the banners go up, and in 30 years you're having beers talking how great a team we were. it's just that, it's, life is a mystical ride, right? Like, it's just that kind of fate. Fate is weird.
Yeah.
Winning's hard. That is certainly something I've learned, and is something that
never to be taken for granted.
Never take it for granted. Every win is worth celebrating. And I kind of began my high school coaching career by not winning a lot, and losing to begin with. Makes you a better coach. I think makes you more grateful for when you do experience success. It sucks at the time, but that kind of gets back to, you learn from doing hard things and having difficult experiences.
Story of life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the closer you are to the bottom is I think I just read that. When you're at your very bottom, it's not the end of the journey, it's the start. That was kind of...
We'll go up from there.
And like, in sports, like in life, things are never...
We're going to go long on this because we got to go phase 2.
I know.
Not in this like he teased at the bribery.
Yep.
And are you okay staying?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yep.
Because we got to... This is going to be like a part 2.
Yeah.
The bribery stuff.
Well, like, sports, like life, is... Nothing is ever as good as it may seem, and then nothing is ever as bad as it may seem, within reason, of course. But,
well, I like to say, and I have a great friend, Chad Cook, shout out to him. We talk a lot about high school basketball. Never too high, never too low. Because a Tuesday night, Chad and I will text each other. We talk Wednesday morning. I call it our daily podcast during the season. Yeah. We've been doing it like 6 years. After every Kewaskum Varsity game recap, and they'll get trounced by 30, and we're like, we're the worst team on the planet. Should never have coached these boys when they were growing up. And then Miles just shut down the program, and then 4 nights later, and again they're just young boys, they beat a team they shouldn't have beat. And you're like, yeah, we got something here. But never too high, never too low. That's life, right?
That's a difficult roller coaster for an adult.
Yes, imagine, right?
Let alone, but sometimes perhaps adults think more about it.
I think we think
than
deeper.
A teenager.
I don't think the kids think about it. They think they're more emotionally impacted.
Yeah.
They're not thinking bigger picture like we are,
Yeah. Well, and you said you've been at Elkhart Lake for 7 years. Like, just kind of from the ground up a little bit.
I will predict they're going to go to state and possibly win state in the next 5 years. Mike's an excellent coach. I think the Mammoth thing will feed into that. So,
well, there's a lot of pressure there now. There's expectations.
Not really. No one listens to the podcast anyway. If I'm right, I can reference the podcast. If I'm wrong, we just forget that you came out.
We just got to get out of certain sectionals, because a lot of it is luck. So
it is. Like I
this
said,
year, Division 5 state champ was Reedsville.
Yeah, which is your division.
We didn't lose to Reedsville once. We didn't lose to Reedsville twice. We lost to Reedsville 3 times. Right. Yeah. 2 years ago, our sectional opponent was Sheboygan Lutheran, which is probably the best over time Division 5 team in the state.
Private school, coming from a very big.
That's Sam Decker. Is that where Sam?
Big town, big reputation, good coach.
Success, particularly in the state tournament, is obviously you have to be a good team, but part of it is those sectional groupings, which of course in Wisconsin are geographic based. But topic for another day.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was curious, like, where do you start with, like, when you arrived and took, like?
So, I mean, the short story there is the basketball program, not disrespecting anybody, but fell on some very hard times. There would be different coaches, like basically every 2 years.
Very normal for a culture to have, like, for a school to have a few different programs that, like, it's not a focus of the community. Not a lot of the moms and dads are that vested into that sport. The youth program's not that developed, so not unusual.
No.
Literally,
like, this town's always bad at golf.
Yeah, winning 2 to 3 games a year was kind of the expectation, and literally the year before I took over, the average margin of loss was 41 points a game. And at that time, we moved back to our hometown. My wife, high school sweetheart, also from Elkhart Lake. So we moved back for various reasons, and I'm like, I can change this. I want to change this.
Yeah.
This is my community, my alma mater, former player. I like basketball. I think we can change this. Not everyone wanted change. Those first 2 years on some level were difficult, but you have to be process oriented and celebrate the small steps. And the first year was difficult. We were essentially a JV team with a varsity schedule. And amazingly, I laugh at it now, but it wasn't funny at the time. My first year in the same game in January, my two best players both go down with season-ending injuries. I've talked to other coaches and they've never experienced that. So this was my first year coaching. So we ended the season basically being an injured JV team, playing a varsity schedule. Second year, we were one of the most improved state teams in the entire state when you measure win differential. And we get it done.
So what was getting back to business or life, right? What was the couple of keys how did you change the culture? How did you change performance?
Any friction?
I know now, any friction. And I know you good enough now, you're a super metric guy. What metrics, what analytical process did you take? Or cultural, like what are the top two, three things that you really focused on? Or looking back, what do you think?
I just started investing in the kids, beginning in 7th and 8th grade. The pro of being a small town coach is you know who those people are, you have access to them, you can see potential, and then you just need to give guidance. So I literally remember, even before I became the varsity coach, I'm just literally moved back to Elkhart Lake and I'm just Mike the citizen, being in the gym many hours with 7th and 8th graders, helping them to get better. Why did I do that? Well, I've kind of found that the gym is one of my happy places.
Sure, again, I go to Marcus because, if you're a gym rat, you just are. And my son, my son hits the gym floor, and again, that has been since he sat on my lap when he was like 3 years old when I coached. By the time he was 6 years old, he was telling me, that kid's got 3 fouls, Dad, you got 1 timeout left. I'm like, no, I got 2. He's like, Dad, you got 1. Like, do I have 1 left? I would ask the scorekeeper. He's like, you got 1 left. I'm like, thanks, bud. But to this day, when he hits the gym floor, time and space don't exist, right?
The flow.
The flow, right? Time and space don't exist. Even if he has a bad game, and he doesn't realize how nice it is out, he's not wishing he was somewhere else. He just likes being in the gym.
One of my favorite...
It's always been called the gym rat, right? I know kids like you, and I think there'll always be kids like that, and it's not necessarily basketball. That can be under a hood of a car. That can be on a chessboard,
One of my favorite sounds is literally the sound of a basketball.
Squeaky shoes.
And squeaky shoes.
I call a Swiss church bell.
Well, and that's
the most beautiful music
like
in the world.
That's like the trifecta there. You get a swish and squeaky shoes and a basketball bouncing. I told my wife, and hopefully it's not for many years, I want former players to be bouncing basketballs at my funeral. I just love the sound of it. Investing in kids.
Swish, so don't call on me to make the free throw. Pick somebody else.
Investing in kids, having standards, and holding kids accountable to standards.
Give me one of the standards you would use or still do. What is it? Like as a resorter, as a Mammoth, what's a standard for you?
Being on time is being late. You always got to play hard. The score is always 0-0.
Bill Walton trait.
Take pride in what you're doing. And, I got to say, in a small town, holding kids accountable to standards is difficult. You have to be flexible because if you're too stringent, you may not have a team. And is that good for anybody?
Which again is different. Like I said, when you're fighting for a varsity spot at Kimberly, you can threaten them with whatever, and you can tell them whatever because there are 5 kids that are going to take your spot. So it is a different mindset for sure.
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
So you're a self-learner always.
Yes, and a lot of basketball podcasts. And early in my coaching career, I'm like, oh, okay. That's not going to work at a school where you literally...
I guess you could still grab a nugget and twist it.
Literally last year we had 11 kids in our whole high school program, including a foreign exchange student from Turkmenistan. So that is 2-time regional champs with 11 kids in your program. My assistant coach and I, we sometimes joke that we lead the nation in wins per player in program. We call it
That's funny.
I like it.
But it's
I've said there should actually be a Netflix series that's just called like D5 for all the quirkiness of a small school, right?
Yeah, no, it's.
I got a Bale Hay coach. I can't be there.
It's a different basketball coaching experience, and like any experience you have, there's pros and cons with that. But yeah, being a small town basketball coach or any sports coach, it's an unusual experience in many cases, and then doing it when you're from that town and you went to school there, it's interesting. Just motivating kids, like we've had some very talented kids in our program, and hopefully we'll continue to do so, that have college potential, and there's that balance between motivating them and then letting them figure things out for themselves, and wanting it, right? A coach can't want it for a kid. A parent can't want it for a kid.
I also, if I had to give advice to a youth coach, maybe the top 3 I was ever read, podcast or given, was never care more than the kids, right? And that might be different on a varsity high school level, but as a youth coach, don't care more than the kids, right? I would go to a Sunday afternoon consolation game, but I knew that we lost to them last year. I knew the dad from back in the day in high school. I was and we've been practicing hard and playing good, and I knew we could get that team. And the kids would just not care. It's Sunday afternoon, coach. It's consolation game. We're sitting in Horicon. Who cares? And I would be so mad and livid, and like you said, care too much, and not be able to sleep that night, which, like, looking back, was like super unicorn, crazy dumb. And you know what? At that moment, and at the best, when I was a good coach at maybe the end of my career, if they didn't care, then, and not that I didn't care, and not that they didn't care, but I could only care as much as they care. Like, hey, this isn't just going to happen tonight. That's okay. I'm going to still coach hard, but I'm not going to just beg them to run this, run the press. Like, I gotta slow down a little bit. Let them come to the moment. And if they don't, and again, at a youth coach level at a rec league, that's okay.
And that's part of the maturation process of coaches, and what I've experienced as well. Like, when you start off coaching in 4th, 5th grade, well, that's your only coaching experience. To use
you have a delusion that your kids are all really
well, no, and to use the term, like, for you as a coach and your players, like, that's kind of the Super Bowl, right?
It really is.
But then you become a high school coach, you have a few wins, you win a couple regional championships, and I gotta say I'm still a loud coach, as you've probably seen, and I stand up and
but I think there's a
But my approach to coaching,
there's a place to that, to give that. You got to give that energy. You got to care. You got to be there for the kids when they need it, right? I don't know. I'm not a stoic coach either. Like, even in my quietest moments, as anybody would know, I was still pretty loud on the bench, right? There were times where I forced myself to be quiet, and even that was like, that's still a play on that, right? If you're like being overly quiet, then the kids freak out about that. So you're always on stage, just something.
But to your earlier point, being a high school coach now, and then when you do coach a middle school game or a club ball basketball game, you do have a better perspective to view that game through. Yes, you're trying to win and position your team for success, but
the educational part comes in.
Yeah, I mean, you want the kids to grow.
Yeah.
And as much as you would like to win all the time in sports, that's not realistic. Basketball seasons are rarely undefeated, but then again, neither is life.
So 10 minutes left. I'm only going to take this for 10 minutes.
Go ahead.
We are not going to do the bribery. Again, we talked before the podcast, what we always do. This goes wherever it needs to go. So there's something on my tip of my tongue that I want to talk about, which is funny. So if you're still on the podcast, we appreciate you. If you've already tuned out, well, then you've already tuned out. I could already be on my 3rd beer. This is fun for me. I sent you a long text thread last week, 2 weeks ago, called Chaos 36, right? I know you read it. I know you're an analytical guy. We're going to talk a little bit what I am obsessed with and have been for like 25 years, 30 years, about Paul Westhead's program that is now run by Grinnell and been redeveloped, which is a psycho way to play basketball. I call it Chaos 36 because in basketball there's 36 minutes.
Okay.
Grinnell would call it the system. I've read the book 4 or 5 times cover to cover. So it's thick book, really detailed thick book. Grinnell plays it. They want to, threes are greater than twos. It's all based on math and metrics.
Right.
Again, if you work with me, we've talked about it. If you meet me out and about, or if you see me at Drexel for a week, you don't think I'm very analytical. And I'm maybe truly not, but I do love the math and analytics behind things. And this is a completely analytical thing, which is cool because it sets the standards for you. So basically, we're looking all the way back to Grinnell's style, and Arsenault, I believe the guy's name is David Arsenault. I'm not saying that name right, so apologize for those that know the guy's name. They ran through a computer like 5,000 basketball games. And tell me I could probably now do it on AI. Yep. Give me the 5 metrics that win the game. And they ran them. Mm-hmm. True story. And he said, okay, cool, if that's the metrics, that's what we run with, right? And you have to be, and his book on page 1 says you either have to be desperate, right, or crazy to run this, because it's wild. Okay. He goes, you're reading the book because you're probably both. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's
Here for it. Let's go.
I've been in Kewaskum and we've never, that team, we never won conference since 1978, and I say we loosely, but I've been in that gym enough to probably say we. So, we're a desperate program, right? And it has never been run that I know in the state of Wisconsin by either the girls or boys side. Mm-hmm. So it's really, the concept is you want to shoot threes more than 2 because that's a metric. So you want to get your own offensive rebounds because you want to take a certain, I can't remember.
Which is a metric too,
offensive rebounds. Yeah, offensive rebounds because you want to get more shots than the other team. So you force turnovers by double teaming the ball. So you got to put up 20 more shots than the other team. And you can only do that by forcing turnovers and getting your own rebounds. Right, so that's actually really important. So people just think it's run and gun, wild west. It's not. It's very metric based. Mm-hmm. Threes are greater than 2. If you shoot at a high school average of 35%, 33%, whatever that is, for threes, and the other team shoots 50%, which is pretty high for 2s, or even a little better. Yeah, it's the same. So you kind of beat them at their own game. And also, in Wisconsin, most teams are playing the exact same style of basketball. And what the challenge is, you can't beat a good team at their own game. You just can't. Slinger's an excellent team. No matter what, a weaker team's not going to win. In this system, on any given night, you got a shot because all you got to do is get hot. So you can get the kids believing. One of the things, too, is it's completely entertainment. You will set school records, state records. Kind of interesting, even the book says it. You will set other schools' records. And you will piss everyone off because they'll say that's not real basketball. Right? And they'll say your kids are not all conference even though they led the state in scoring. And they'll say that wasn't even real, right? But you'll go to some other team, and it is the circus coming to town. So why on a Tuesday night just be a team that's going to be 500 or less and wait for 1 or 2 unicorn years with 1 or 2 unicorn players and try to play like everybody else in the sandbox and just wait for these magical years versus, hey, let's reorganize this whole shit. Think about basketball way different. Be a circus in town. Any given night we can win. We're going to set school and state records. We're going to chase weird metrics that prove that, and if we lose, I can just simply say, these are the 2 things we didn't do. I don't have to get into this whole delusional, motivational speech. These are the 2 things we need to work on. And then from the early age, we can just become shooters. And you have to play unbelievably aggressive, psychotic, full court, 94 feet defense. So I sent you that. What was your observations on it? And I told him you could run this at D5 because D5 does not go deep. You can you'll just burn out the skill players.
In theory, that sounds great.
Yeah. Break it down.
We do a lot.
No one's ever done.
No.
I was going to ask.
We do a lot of that.
This is all sitting in a test tube bubble. No one's done it.
The issues are.
And I know in Wisconsin.
The issues are you have to have the players. You have to have the depth, and with a school like ours, where essentially our rotation is 6-7 players, if you get in foul trouble, you're really in trouble. Mm-hmm. But so we do the cons of that, right? So say that again. You have to be, because that's what everyone always says. You have to have depth.
The best player.
Not true. Everybody plays. They just have to know their role. And everybody's a shooter when they're super open or they're not a shooter. But I can get, so a little bit you'll get more kids to go out because it's super fun. So you go from 10 to 11 to maybe 13. I just want you're just in for 5 minutes and give me hell on offensive rebounds. You're my pick guy, but it's going to be fun. We're going to score the most points in the state. So you can kind of almost recruit kids to play. But even if you only have 10, you just have to be better than their 10 cardiovascularly. And then foul trouble is a little bit of an illusion. and I've thought about it, I've seen it in AAU games, you basically bully the refs. Everyone in the state knows you're the most aggressive, toughest team they're going to play. The refs are probably going to swallow the whistle. If you come out right away hitting it, good luck them calling every foul consistently, because we're coming after you. And you know, the night that they do, the night they do.
So the analytics are sound. So like, for instance...
Jules is vested. She likes this.
Yeah, for instance, we were one of the best three-point shooting teams in the state this year. Helps
shout out to Braden Smith, 50% from threes.
And our points per possession were above 1.0, which is the gold standard. And you're right, there are these factors that statistically speaking are highly predictive of whether you're going to win a basketball game. Three-point shooting is the most highly variable.
Right.
So you can shoot well, you can shoot bad, all within the same context.
So there's a little bit even challenging that. So in the Chaos 36, if you simply, a lot of times during high school varsity practices, you don't shoot threes you might do, but very few teams actually shoot during the season. They got scouting, they got things to do. In this, it's such a simple offense, such a simple defense, you actually work on shooting throughout the year. Plus, it's kind of like playing roulette. Threes are a game of runs.
Oh yeah.
So if we're shooting 3 times to 4 times the state average, the odds of us going on a successful run at some point hitting 4 threes in a row is backbreaking. So you can come down 12 with 3 minutes left and win by 6 because you're shooting so much.
But you also have to have a system in place for how are you going to win on the nights or the halves in which you can't make a 3-point basket.
And then my con to that is we were going to lose that game anyway, Mike. And somebody's like, well, then you're going to lose games by 60. Cool, I agree. We were going to lose it by 30 anyway. So against really good teams, we're going to lose by more. Against worse teams, we're going to lose by more. But either way, if we get hot, we got a chance. Yeah. But yes, you will get blown out 130 to 70. But you also win 130 to 70. So it's a wild swing.
I think we scored over 100 points twice this year. Actually,
see, he likes it. He gets
all the core analytics are there and they're sound. It's just a matter of level in a high school program.
It's really a level of desperation because you are going to be ostracized in this state, and teams are going to be like, we don't play Elkhart. They play stupid. This is dumb. Yeah. So you would have to take somebody almost delusional, or again, just absolutely desperate of like, we have nothing to lose. I'm going to give this a shot. And because again, I think a lot of people play hybrid. No one in the state is actually committed. 3 versus 2.
There's no shot clock, so there's nothing prohibiting you from holding the ball, which you do see a bit in the postseason. They
could do that, but again, we offset that by we simply double team the ball. Whoever has in the true system, you literally double team the ball always. It's literally instantly double team the ball full court, which literally is psychotic because that means instantly somebody down the court is open, and you're just saying throughout the course of a game, and the second that point guard starts freaking out, and again, especially in D5, let's say that kid gets tired or in foul trouble, the backup point guard is rarely good. You just overwhelm the front court. You double team the ball the second they get the rebound. If they take a rebound from you, you double. So it would not be an opportunity for them to stall. They couldn't stall. They wouldn't want to stall unless they're literally not going to take the layup that we're going to give them the layup. Just so we
again, I think all the key aspects are there and attributes and they're sound. It's just the level of how deep you're willing to go into that.
How psycho you are. That's really it's really true. It really is desperation.
The thing with high school basketball, and you have contact during the summer, but that's all voluntary. Sometimes you only have 7-8 practices before you play, and it's different installing a system like that in college where you may have weeks of practices or months of access to
everything.
Kids.
It's actually the opposite. I already taught you my defense. You double team the ball and you jump ball passes, and in offense we are trying to get a 3-point shot, so you drive the lane and kick. That's all it is. And even our inbound plays are super simple, and especially if I'm at that school, I've actually done this at Kewaskum. To me, the inbound plays in 3rd grade should be your inbound plays at varsity. So if I get to varsity level, it's ingrained in my brain, right?
Even a most basic inbounds play is going to work in youth and middle school. Pick away is going to work.
But like this high school one where the inbounder gets picked to shoot a 3, every single team I see watches it, and they're still getting the 3 off. It's crazy.
You got to have counters off of that, too.
Yeah, the counters are great. Well, that is the fun part.
Yeah.
Then the guy slides off, which again, but them are easy to me, like, you can just do some easy stuff that's easy to teach, and we just get back to shooting.
Yeah.
Because the nuances of the game, the
Sunday
practice.
Putting the ball through the hoop is obviously an important component of basketball.
Yes,
that's what we focus on.
So that was the system?
That's called the system, which is played by Grinnell in Illinois.
Okay.
And he was just absolutely desperate. It's a Cornfield College. Sure. It's an engineering men's college. They couldn't get anybody to play there, and he said, you know what, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it, because no one's ever done it.
Yeah.
Well, even
and you can recruit to it and all that.
Loyola Marymount back in
Hank
the
Gathers.
80s.
That's where I've been obsessed with it since. Hank Gathers, Paul Westhead, and
okay.
then a little bit leaked to the NBA, and if you kind of follow this whole way, the Warriors, Steph Curry's was, again, all hybrids off of the system, and the metrics all came from a guy named Paul Westhead, and started thinking about threes and analytics, and then the system, or what I call Chaos 36, is just fully embracing it at a psychotic level. Again, no one knows if it would work or not. True, in Wisconsin, there are a few high schools. Through Twitter, I tried researching it. There's a few people around the country in high school, girls and boys side, that do it.
Well, they say they're doing it. Like, if you watch their games, are they really doing it?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of things in life,
I've seen a few guys that I follow a few guys on Twitter that seem to.
You may label something a certain way or say you're doing it.
But when you peel the onion back, it's not quite that what it is. Okay, well, we're way over time.
Yeah. Okay, but quick before Billboard, if you had like one book that like you come back to, do you have like a book, coaching basketball, that you have on your bookshelf or a podcast?
Right.
Books, not so much. Like, the easy thing and hard thing about being a basketball coach in the current era is there's so much out there. Like, you see,
it's the content overload.
Right? Yeah, it is content overload. It's like,
talk about inbound plays. You can put up 4,000 in like 5 minutes.
You see a play on Twitter, like, oh, I got to get that play. And early in my coaching career, I was like a deer in the headlights. But now you got to like, okay, here is our system. Here's our spacing templates.
Tweaking between.
Here's our spacing templates. How does that come into play?
You tell Mike's a lawyer. He like gives you an answer without giving you an answer. Answer the question, Mike. What on the podcast?
There's just so much content out there that it is sometimes information overload. It's like you're going into Home Depot and all you need is a screw. And you're in the screw aisle and there's 100,000 screws and you're like, screw it.
And then you just thought that you bought Bagel Licorice and Bagel Licorice and work gloves and you're like, I didn't get a screw edge.
Didn't go like it. Okay, how about your Billboard message, Mike? You get a billboard and it can say whatever you want on it. What message are you leaving?
I'm glad that question was posed, because I thought about it most of my drive over here and just actually thinking about it.
Beautiful drive from Elkhart.
And just thinking about it was actually kind of inspiring to me. And it would be, do hard things. Allow yourself to get uncomfortable. Now, not uncomfortable in the dangerous, reckless way, but I just look at my own life.
Running an Ironman.
4-time Ironman. I still need to get that fifth. Whether it's getting up at 4:30 in the morning and peddling newspapers around Elkhart Lake, or whether it's going to college 9 hours away and literally not knowing one person, whether it's in my private practice career as a lawyer, going to some very dangerous countries to conduct bribery and corruption investigations, or whether it's taking over.
That's a podcast for another day.
I would say.
Or whether it's, being a parent's hard. That's a choice. Taking over a high school basketball program that hasn't even come close to winning. But I just look at my own life and the growth I've experienced from doing hard things. Now,
your greatest rewards, it sounds like, have come from doing the hardest things.
Oh yeah, I mean, you don't realize it at the time, but you really do. Now, thankfully, I've chosen some of these hard things. Let's face it, there's a lot of people in life who the hard things choose them. But and I think that is a problem with certain people of this generation, because from my perspective, a lot of modern educational environments are designed to keep kids comfortable. Certain parenting styles are designed to keep kids comfortable.
Yes.
So a lot of kids...
It's America.
Yeah.
Our lifestyles, period.
A lot
For
of...
most people, not everyone.
Yes.
We live comfortable, easy lives.
A lot of kids don't get to experience discomfort to the extent that I think people in other generations did. Now, I'm not saying that's all bad, but I don't think it's all good either.
Yeah.
And I do think there is a, it's a discipline, it's an educational piece. God has made it that way. It is part of human DNA to struggle.
Right.
There is one of my favorite sayings is fall 7, rise 8. You're supposed to, God made you to fall down. God told you. I will say God never said life would be easy. God said life would be worth it.
So like, very minor example, but it's all relative. So about a year ago, I had a serious fungal eye infection.
Oh.
And I've essentially been blind in my right eye for the last year. Thankfully, I get my new cornea in a couple months. But last summer was very, very difficult. Constant headaches, nausea, and I suffered. Now, thankfully, in a not so serious way for a 51-year-old, but I suffered, and I didn't like it at the time. And I know this is going to sound like a cliche because it concerns my eye, but I started to see things a little bit differently. And in a really odd sort of way, you're like, I'm happy that happened. I needed to go through something like that. It made me a better person. So yeah, I just think there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Embracing basic stuff, just kind of bringing it back to basketball. I think there's so much of an emphasis on making sure kids have fun. And I'm not saying having fun is bad, but what is your definition of fun? You may have 12 guys on a basketball team and they all have a different definition of fun.
Yes.
And some of those definitions may in fact conflict with each other. What do you do there? And when do you measure fun? It can't be in the moment fun. It can't be ha-ha fun. You're trying to accomplish objectives. You're trying to do things collectively that you're not able to do individually. And I think, and talking to former players, looking back on that experience may not have seemed fun in the moment. But you look back at it, you're like, these are like the best years of my life.
Well, we talked about it, happiness versus joy.
Yeah.
But happiness is an illusion, and I think the world wants us to chase happiness. God wants to chase joy, right? And I'll kind of maybe do hard things with this, right? And again, I'm a spiritual guy. The book of Job. Sometimes God strips everything away because all he's ever wanted is just trust me. Like he said, give me a different set of eyes. Just look at me. Because that's all that really matters at the end. And I think sometimes he has to strip good things away. And in the moment, could not be harder to do hard things. Like no one wants to do hard things. And that can be from losing a loved one to losing your eyesight, to being a paraplegic, to just simply waking up at 4:30 a.m. and doing a paper route or running an Ironman. But
So,
hard things are very important. I think it's a wonderful thing, Mike.
The Billboard says do hard things and allow yourself to become uncomfortable.
Yes.
And parents, allow your children to be uncomfortable in the moment sometimes. Educators.
All the magic happens outside your comfort zone.
Educators, school district
Yes.
administrators, allow these kids to be uncomfortable at some points.
For sure. I love it.
Awesome. That's good.
Thanks so much for your time.
Way over time.
Appreciate it.
Amazing.
Good,
10 minutes
bud.
of our time.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. As always,
Peace and love.
Peace and love, everybody. Out.